Thursday 1241 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. As in the past several days, several weeks, the Arukh HaShulchan today is devoted only schus from it, any and all schus from it to the tzlacha and Yeshua of Am Yisrael, and those specifically in the hands or facing the Rishoyim Aruim in Gaza. Yimach Shemam Zichram. They were doing their Siman Kuf Pei Zayin Si Pei Gimel to Tzadik Aleph. It's almost the end. The Siman. Pei Gimel. Yeshin the best of Shalaflog and Sheni's Bar. Choshesh has gone the best of Chodesh. And this best of Flaga of Rosh HaMachmas Tashmish. Also, Kavesa Kodesh included. Klomek Shras Pam Shem Machmas Tash Lacha Chatzi Shara. She sees the second time Machmas Tashmish after half a year. Vaya Yom Zet Tesvav Sivan and Nisan, and that day was Tesvav Nisan. Choshesh Letesvav Iyar. She is concerned with Tesvav Iyar, which of course the next month. Lo Sa'az, if not, then Choshesh Vesavlog Chatzi Shara, since she's concerned with Vesavlog of half a year. You also Tesvav Iyar, so if she sees on Tesvav Iyar. Choshesh Tesvav Sivan, she's concerned Tesvav Sivan. The Nekar Vesas Hafloga, and the Vesas Hafloga is a brutic. If you had the Dinim, there's Bar and Siman Kupei Test, we shall see in Kupei Test. Here when Machmas Tash Shevil Pam Rishon, even the first time she's seeing Machmas Tash, she has to be concerned with the Vesas HaChodesh. Besides the Vesas Hafloga. Well, actually, it's supposed to be a Vesas Hafloga. Sorry, now we're talking about where there is no Hafloga. She has to be Choshev Yom HaChodesh. But she's not concerned with the tashmish. The zebai they own it because it came by a compelling reason. Something like the Yeshua by Vesses. You have to tell about a case where she had a Vesses. That Vesses opachas milamed. Either a Vesses was less than 30, lamed yom was less than 30 or 30 days, or yos or more. The zelma is still she has to count from month to month. Come on, Asher was mana Vesses hakodem until the prior Vesses comes back and negates this month's phenomenon. For example, test, as we shall see, super test. The Bain best talk about she has no cycle. Anyway, she has to be concerned under Bainus not to be lam from 30 to 30. Chainim Yeshlo Vesses, and so too she has a Vesses. Which is 30-day Vesses, like what most women have. Says she has to be concerned with this day no matter what. Certainly, like we said, that the Ash should be concerned with the Vesses the following month. After even the Vesses is from 30 to 30. Zman best of Yom Echad, but the Zana Vesses are 1 day is on 1 day. Yom Acher, sorry, not a day. Lo b'Tesla Chodesh, not 50 days of the month. But now she has to be concerned with Tesvav B'Yar. Until the previous Vesses, which is 30 days without Yom HaChodesh, cancels the Yom HaChodesh. The bracket says, the Paris was asked is resolved by this Mahalach. In the essence of this matter, the Ra Machmas Tashmish has to be concerned with Yemei HaChodesh. Lo Masha came called Rishonim. Doesn't seem away from the Rishonim. The Elokim, that's not the case with Gemara, but place which goes to the Ra Machmas Tashmish, Mishamesh's Param Rishonim, V'Shnei V'Shlishis, shows she can have relations up to 3 times with this husband. She should specify the Shatachos is Manach has to be concerned, however, with the time of the month. Elevated, ain't no Ra Machmas Tashmish, close Abestos. Despite what I just wrote in the past couple of Sifim, or talking about Shish and Vestos, never the twain shall meet. The Ains of Vestos Elacheli, it's not a cycle, it's a sickness. Kamash Kasav, he's wrote numerous times. What if I should invest a that which you could serve best stuff logo? Hi, what about that? Tamachish, it's a different reason. The came and the Chazin the Michus that may Pam Rishon of Elach, Lotadamaz Manrochel. Since we see that this illness is not caused to see blood until a long time after the first time, at a great distance she saw a second time, but since it's a long distance, a long interval of time, maybe the time is involved. But indeed, by default, we're not concerned with time. That's why the person mention anything about this at all. Bracket says, that's what it seems to me. Pei, Kosa Rabbeinu Rama B'Sif Yud, Aldino Shem Mechaber. The Rama writes in Sif Yud and Aloch Mechaber, Barah Dam Belil Tvilosa. when she sees blood in the night of a tefillah, v'zel l'shoino, and this is what he writes. Imasa shlosha pamim kol pam abir rishon shachas. Also 3 times she saw every time. First time she had relations after she went to the mikvah. Asula bailo, she is forbidden to her husband. Kilu rasa shlosha pamim mitzuvim, as if she saw 3 times in a row. She'iev shalo l'bol l'shamashim, because she can't go to the mikvah and have relations with him. She'ira b'chol pam achat v'yoseh, she always sees after she goes to the mikvah. I can show her. But in clouds. What it's saying is it's strange. What does it mean? As if he saw she saw 3 times in a row. Mashal Khan Enutum sounds like here it's not 3 times in a row. About Koratum name, there are 3 times in a row. She saw it the night of her tefillah, and then of course she came in Nida. Pirishman, and then they separated. So she saw on the second time she went to the mikvah, and the third time she went to the mikvah. So they are consecutive. Yeshish Peir talking about those say this way we say the Ilu also Shlosh Payim Mitzuvim below Tefillah. If you saw 3 times without going to the mikvah, Klamar Vade Gam Kan Mitzuvim. Yes, of course they're consecutive here. And we shouldn't have a call Reyes below Tefillah. Since here all of the sightings were on the night of the going to the mikvah. I would say even though she saw 3 times on the night of the tefillah, maybe she's only also on the night of tefillah. If she skips that night, she'll be moved to the next night, which we did mention earlier in the simon. So you want to mention 9 tests. The second that's what no, he doesn't hold that way. The is like 3 times without being the night of going to the mikvah. Shasur l'zelom, she says husband forever. Or actually, because she does Zion, or according to this, until she makes the tampon test, which is he places the permits even with the first husband. Back he says, can you really come on as a shach born burim? This I think what the shach is saying, that's clear. That's the primary halacha. He's amates. The kind of Mechas Yaakov Api Divrei Hamor b'Sefer Habali Nevesh, whatever he says, we don't know. L'Tmiani Luyeke. I'm astonished. Let's see it's true. How Lobo Yachid who Neged Kol Rishayim is against all Rishayim. Lo Mishtamte Kol Chtov Kain. Nobody else likes to write the part as we do him. Rimani L'Chein Ikar Le'Ladino Le'Eser. If she goes to Mecca 3 times and she sees 3 times, she's also to his husband because now I'm see if test Chalil Hakel B'Zev Aduk Chas Hashem to be Mekel. Pevav Yeshu Shemash Advar. Those who it seems from his words. Such as when she saw Machmas Tashish the first time she went to Mikvah. Second time, Pirish made a love to Vilasa. They didn't have relations on the night of the Mikvah. Because she's smart, as we said previously, that's I guess an 8 to before they have a Chazaka, right? And the third time she went to Mikvah, she was a Mishamish the night of her Mikvah, and she did see. And then the 4th time they skipped. And then we have the 5th time she went to the mikveh and she did see blood that night. Even though there it's 1, 3, and 5, it's as if she saw 1, 2, 3. Even though there are permitted relations between them. The bills which are not on the night of the mikveh. 3 times she saw at the night of the mikveh when she did have relations on that night. It's like the consecutive Asul Olam. She's also forbidden forever. And it says back, it's Chem Mashabir. Seems to be what the Ber HaGoy says. However, the Gdom did not agree to this. To ask forever when there were mutter relations in between. It's a crazy placey. It says, however, Yeshu Eskimo is ever Tzarchin Ladino. Some people did reach those forever. Yesh Piers those who explain Kagon Shabbat Allah. Shlosh Bilos Lai Achash had 3 times later one night. In the morning she found on all the B'dika Claw's blood. That's a Munah Shmuel. Baker compares Rishon, that we're talking about where 3 times she went to the mikveh and 3 times she saw that night. Okay, that's a good agree, and it says here Chavas Das as well. Or perhaps another Chavas Das. No, it's Amunash, I guess it's the Crazy Flacy and the Chavas Das. Peizaim. Okas of Rabbeinu Ramah. The Ramah also writes, Himira Losh Rosa Shlosh B'Yim B'Yir Rishona Shachli Dasa. 3 times she saw the first relations they had after she gave birth. Or Rosa Chako later Shlosh B'Yim B'Yim. She saw after she gave birth 3 times, and she didn't see in the interim. Yesh Kosulak El Tirabala. Those are well, we can be lenient. Because we assume that she saw on account of her weakness because of her having given birth. that the sides of her birth canal took a beating on account of the birth. That she sees only adjacent to our giving birth, not afterwards. It's only belated, we assume it had to do with the birth. Which we assume something happened on account of a wound. This, however, is only she violated and had relations in the first births. So that we had a chazaka bios heter and after and between the bios iser. So 3 times consecutively after having given birth. Low cleaning, but later we don't assume that it's on account of the birth. She needs to have the tampon test. However, anytime she cries to become of a shimsha, but Laura said she had relations inappropriately and she didn't see any blood. Mutar she permitted. Tashi says bo this Tashi which she didn't see, ultimately because it's superior to the tampon test. End quote from the Ramah. Peiches. Many things were said about this. Those who wanted to amend what he says, the Taz and the Shach. It's clear that this is what the Ramah means to say. She saw 3 times the first time she had relations after having given birth. Obviously, she had 3 kids or 3 miscarriages. She gave birth and she became Torah for Rasa Machmas. She showed on the count of having relations. So the second time, Rasa Lacha Tashmish, she saw after Tashmish, whatever. Came later, she saw the third time. Ben Asaim Rasa didn't see anything in the middle. And after every birth, she saw once after she gave birth, and she didn't see again until after this next birth. Also the second and third birth. The Bazayu Kobios Matter, all the bios were permitted. Came so Rakpa Machasa Chalera. She only saw one time after giving birth. Lo meaning we don't say Shittis Garesh. Achalera she said she get divorced after the third birth. Shamish Achalera Vis. Because how she had relations after the fourth giving birth, Muzakas Liros Papa Mishan Achalera. She has luck to see the first time after the birth. Lo meaning we don't say that. There came Ben Asayim. Since the meantime they're permitted relations, we say even though there are 3 reals after she gave birth, they all have to do with their weakness. Say now the 4th time her weakness has ceased, like all women get stronger over time. He said, which we could say that certain sightings, which have to do with the later, just like you say by Makolav Dafku. It's not necessarily specific. Because if she's the 4th time after later, it's not a issue. Think about starting who we say against the side, just like we could say it came from a wound. And now, especially she gave birth, it's like a Maka Mamish. That seems to be primary. Peites. V'od Kamar. Also, he says, she saw after every birth 3 times in a row, and in the middle she didn't see. After each birth she saw 3 times in a row. In the meantime, she violated. She shouldn't have relations. She did. But she didn't see any blood in them. Even though she had a chazak over 3 times in 3 births, nevertheless came shimsha when she had relations. Nevertheless, it's true it was forbidden. She shouldn't have had relations. Nevertheless, regardless, this is gala it's studying machlas later. Everything had to do with the fact that the sides were beaten on account of the later. They were weakened, beaten and thus weakened. This it says, he says, this says she violated and she had relations. But it's going in this case, in the first case, she was allowed to have tashmish, because have ziva kohen, the previous sif. But then she picked this halacha in one birth. So she saw 3 times after having given birth. And then she violated and she had relations. See, the muteres later she's permitted by the second birth. The Rebbe Sukamash is telling her kiddush. I feel shlosh seems 3 times the 3 ladles. It's also a halacha that if she undermines it by having violated the prohibition of having relations and having seen blood, that she goes back to square one. She saw 3 times after her birth and did not violate and see. Ubasli shon she asked and comes to ask, Osrina, so we forbid her. Matzikon labdika shom Paris. We required to have a tampon test. Come up later, low later as if she didn't give birth. We don't assume on our own that the sides were smitten. Shloya bios had to have been a sign. Unless when there weren't bios heter in the mean. And even there weren't bios heter in the meantime. It says, there's no saying cloud. This gives the principle all required in the simon. The tampon test after 3 times, she violated and had relations. The lower son she didn't see, it is like B'dika Shoferes. Valivinon, it's superior to B'dika Shoferes. Brackets he says, "Can you fire the feed the shachmin kusakesh custom shachmin si kon lamrav kan bereisha myra should play mitzu in the ken chad milsi a reisha va sefa." Obviously, we have no way of knowing what this means. Obviously, inside we'll hold the havale loma also should play with whatever. Without inside, it's not going to make any difference. Tzadik, you're only the other part. This means simple matter. The must have should play mitzu achar later. So 3 times after giving birth, the law of Rabbi Shimshon did not violate have relations. If they checked and they found that the sides of her birth canal were beaten up, so they later not be on account of birth to have a kamaka. It's still like a maka. It's only we assume the blood came on that account. If it's possible, everybody agrees that in this type of situation, we have to know that the sides were actually bleeding. Perhaps it's not like a maka. The dafka shishim shaloras adam. But specifically when she had relations and didn't see blood, we see that, okay, whatever blood came must have come from the sides. And it's not just enough to see that the sides are beaten up. We don't know what to do here. Somebody still count the Tasha 3 times, so you can't leave her around as your wife. Even if you don't want to have relations with her, because we're afraid you're going to have relations with her. And only came unless there is a third party present. So the shouldn't be present with her in the same room unless they're witnesses. So it won't be yichud. They're separated from each other. They don't live in the same neighbor. And so they don't require aid. No greater aid in the fact that they're separated. You're looking at that period for review. If you didn't have to fulfill having children yet, he's required to divorce and take another wife. Or to make a tampon test, and made it work out. This is true about any woman who can't become tar for her husband for relations. Such a woman who has wounds and any sort which prevent going to mikveh. She has to leave her husband, so he shouldn't desist from having children. However, in our day and age, we don't permit divorcing a woman against her will. If she doesn't want to receive a get, Yas Heta Pi Me'am Rabbanim. She got Heta Me'am Rabbanim, which allows the divorce against the will, Rishon Mem Shola, and get the license of the government, Bikach HaCheres, and take another wife. Like he wrote Evan Ha'ezer. If Hashem, nobody should ever come to such a situation. And that is the end for today. On that very low note.